Hey folks, Steve here with another World in Flames video. We are going to be looking at May-June 1941. Now, to get things off quickly so I don't waste a whole lot of time, because I am trying to make these videos shorter, I did reinforcements, I did the initiative. The Allies failed the initiative and were going to go second, but they burned a bonus. So now they shift one box on the initiative track to just a +1 instead of +2. They won the reroll, so the Allies did get to go first. I've already played out basically the impulse for the Allies. So they sent out their subs again, couldn't find the Italians, came out here, couldn't find the Italians, hoping to destroy that ship to cut these guys out of supply. Well, none of that occurred. All that failed. And so the Allies aren't really as far as they would like to be or would have liked to have been, but they did do predominantly naval moves. So that is to get coverage across the seas, and the British have once again put their mighty fleet in the North Sea. If the Axis is going to try to do sea line, it's going to be tough. And this gets back to the whole idea of, do we do sea lion at the same time as invading Spain? Do we try to take Yugoslavia? Now you can see there are some units set up over here. I was doing that as an experiment to kind of see what would the Yugoslavian setup actually be. And they're really in a difficult position. I mean, they can't really do a whole lot. Basically, they could try to hold on to their cities as long as possible, but it's just a really tough gig. I almost can't figure out a good way to make it work. Maybe put as many forces in there as possible. Now, I haven't, the Axis hasn't declared war on Yugoslavia yet, but I'm trying to figure out how much force will be needed to take it, what can the Yugoslavians actually defend with, and we actually could, with knowing that Germany's still going to do some land actions this turn, maybe swoop in and knock them out very quickly this turn, and then, we'll have cleared them out. And here's kind of the thing that I'm looking at in the game right now. If we try to execute a sea line and we bungle it very, very badly, the game is not totally lost. I mean, I could say, I screwed up really bad. I could close up the game. There are other games that I want to be playing, that I want to be trying out and stuff that I have, and to add some variety to the channel. But if things go very bad up there, I can pivot to a close the med strategy, which is just, yes, ensure we take Gibraltar, we protect, the overall, European sphere here. We still fight off the British and the Americans, but we go for a 1942 Barbarossa against the Soviet Union, and just that sort of network defense could last us through the end of the game and have a good objective score, basically. But it's really going to depend on when we try to do a sea line. Now, if we waste too much time here, we're going to lose our window of opportunity to get into the UK, and then the US will be in the war, and they'll be chucking guys into the British Isles. So we do have to, really try to make headway here as much as we can. So it will be important that, if I want to take out Spain, that I do some land impulses. I try to get all of that cleared up, because until we take Gibraltar, I can't get the Italian fleet out here to contest and strangle the UK. So it's like, if I try to get across the channel, I'm going to have difficulties. It really is taking out Gibraltar. That's really important. We need to get down there. We need to get through all this stuff, right? That's really the key important aspect of the game right now that we still need to accommodate and resolve. So we'll be working through that here soon enough. And yeah, gosh, I mean, that's just, that's where we're at in the game right now. So we're going to do the Axis impulse. So the weather right now is perfectly fine everywhere. It is the second impulse because, again, I took care of the Allied impulse already, and it'll be up to the Axis to decide what to do. We're going to likely see... we might not be able to totally have Morocco taken care of, but we're gonna have them pretty much cleared out. We're going to probably have control of the mountain ranges over here, and that's good. That's going to be part of the defensive axis perimeter no matter what we do. We're probably going to be able to get down into Madrid and maybe even take Bilbao. Barcelona might be a problem just because it has a lot of defensive strength there, but we'll have to see. I mean, this is going to come down to the way the dice roll out and what we decide to accomplish there. But yeah, so again, could see Yugoslavia declared war upon. If we take out Yugoslavia, we could even entertain the idea of going down into Greece if we really wanted to kind of clean some stuff up. But once we take out Yugoslavia, Greece is really kind of a non-issue. So at that point, it almost doesn't even matter really. So yeah, we'll see. Who knows what's up? So I'm going to take myself off camera. We're going to try to take care of some of the Axis stuff. If something really significant happens, I'll show it on camera, but I'm probably not going to do every die roll anymore on camera. I'm not going to do a lot of that stuff because at this point, you guys should have a pretty good idea of the way the game plays. This is less a like newbie game and more, hey, if you're just interested in seeing the way the war goes, you can keep tuning in and watching the episodes. And I'll keep these videos hopefully shorter for that reason. And I'll be able to talk more about the strategic stuff like, hey, Sea Lion, went FUBAR, that's not going to work. We're going to have to transition forces east and look at an East Front 42 situation, which is still interesting. It will be interesting to see how that works out. So all that still in play, still part of the action. We'll look at doing that. So yeah, okay. See you guys in a second here with the Axis Impulse complete.
Okay, here with the Axis Impulse complete, the Italians are kind of stuck doing a lot of naval stuff just to get their guys back out here. But so far, none of the navies have been able to find each other. So we're waiting for a climactic clash here. But otherwise, units are progressing. The Advance Corps is getting into Spanish Morocco and will likely be taking Tangiers soon and maybe Rabat. In fact, they might skip Tangiers, but they would put them out of supply. So I don't know. There's kind of some interesting things going on here in terms of staying in supply or out of supply. But so far, it looks like we're doing good stuff down here, sticking to the coast, and it's all working out. Now, I managed to take Bilbao. I managed to take Madrid. The armor overwhelmed the garrison at the capital, and with ground strikes being successful in both hexes, we were able to take Bilbao. And Barcelona's flipped. There's a lot of combat strength there. The Allies have shore bombardment capability. It's going to be a tough nut to crack, and we've either got to force the Allied Navy out, or we might just have to sacrifice some units to seal the deal here. I did move some units sort of around the Yugoslavian situation. Again, I've not declared war. Those Yugoslavian units are not there, but I'm trying to figure out what is the best defense, and then likewise, what's the best offense here with the limited forces. We may end up wanting to get through that attack potentially over the next couple of turns, or impulses, I should say. So Axis didn't do a whole lot more. They did abort with a naval air unit out there, but that's really it. So, and I accidentally moved that guy there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, we aborted a Commonwealth warship, but our search is done there. So, Spain's going down. There's no doubt about it. It's really now about what can the Allies do to delay that, support Barcelona as much as possible. Madrid has been taken, and soon there will be units running down this way to get to Gibraltar, basically. So we'll see how that works out. So we're going to go back to the Allies here in good weather, but we'll see what the weather is. Rolling, they rolled an 8, which is fine weather everywhere still. So Allies are going to be in good shape there. We'll come back when the Allied impulse is complete, see if anything interesting happened. Okay, not a bunch of crazy stuff has really happened. We've got a roll for Western Med stuff, but Spanish are just coming up just to keep the Axis units from getting too close to Gibraltar before Spain falls. Elsewhere, they've moved some ships around just trying to get some stuff going. Let me make sure that. Let's see how many land moves in a combined 3. Okay, so I think we're 1, 2. Yeah, we're okay there. And 2 navals, 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So yeah, Commonwealth did combined and has just gotten some stuff, sort of trying to get situated. The French did move a Commonwealth unit into Casablanca, and that unit. Oh, I guess I couldn't. Dang it. Okay. What's more important? Holding on to Rabaul, probably, so this guy can go back into Sevilla. Alright, so we did end up getting an Indian mech corps into Rabaul to protect Morocco and keep sort of the Axis from just completely capturing the rest of North Africa. They've got to put up a fight a little bit, which will require the Italians to take some land moves to get some units down there. So it's all good. Again, trying to delay. There's not a whole lot that the Allies can really do. This will go back to the Axis in just a moment. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Commonwealth did strategically bomb Hamburg and is knocking a production point off the Germans. So there you go. Some strategic bombing worked out for the Commonwealth, so lucky them. Okay, so we're going to roll for the Western Med search roll. So we got to flip something. Flip another Spanish unit for this. Whoops. Okay, so that's not good for the Commonwealth. I rolled a 5 and a 2. So everybody for the Italians are in, and the Commonwealth is out. We could potentially choose to avoid combat. Let's see how many surprise points we get. We're technically in the 5 box, so we have 10. 10 minus 5. So we'd have 5 surprise points. 5 surprise points. And we could leave it as a naval air. I like the idea of it being a naval air. But we would have to ensure that the air battle went our way. So let's figure out what this might look like. So we would have, if it was the air battle, we would have 2 bombers on the part of the Italians, and we would have the aircraft carriers on the part of the Commonwealth. So let's take a look at what this would look like. Now, what we could try to do is say we're going to have both of these guys fly as fighters. And then we could spend surprise points to worsen the air-to-air value, which I think we might do. So right now it would be 3 and 3 is 0. We would spend 2 shifts to make their value a -2 or -2. Or we could do -1 +1. But maybe these guys would be a bomber. This seems to be the better way to do it. So these guys flying as bombers, they have no choice. This guy is a fighter, this guy is a bomber. Maybe. Yeah, that's probably the best thing. But then the surprise points, we would reduce the air-to-air value. So it would go from, what you do is you compare. So three combat factors for air against three air-to-air combat factors for the front bomber of the Italians is 0, and then you spend points, surprise points, to shift the column. So we would make it maybe +1, -1. Or make theirs -2. I guess we'd make it -2. That maybe is the better option here. Okay, rolling. Let's see. That is... Okay, defender clears. So we would clear this guy through. And then the return roll is, let's see, -2. Well, I guess, yeah, these guys would get through no matter what, because there's no fighters here. So almost doesn't matter. I'm trying to see here. We rolled a 12. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, just so you can see, this aircraft carrier got through, this nav bomber got through, and we're going to have another round here. But the Allies will be advantaged by quite a bit. And I'm afraid of what that will mean. So I think what will have happen is this guy will abort. And this guy will be fine. But then what's going to happen is we've got to roll the results. So 2 air to sea against 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ships. Might actually be quite a bit. Let's see, 2 for 10 is 1 damage, and the Commonwealth gets to pick what they want to have damaged. What could be damaged, I guess. So I think they're going to go for that guy, and he is actually aborted rather than damaged, so much for that. Then the Axis have 3 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So they're 3 on 10. He has 2 damages, and they get to pick the first one. I think they're going to pick the Ark Royal. And the Ark Royal manages to simply abort. And for the other one, the Allies choose. I think they're going to pick... Wow, amazing. This guy. So... interesting. So that didn't actually do a whole lot of damage, in all actuality. We aborted each other a little bit, basically, but that's all that really happened. Now the question, they rolled again, both sides found each other. So I think we're going to end up... Yeah, we're going to end up having to roll them again. Now this time, being in the 5 box, 8 to 5, we have 3 surprise points, which is not enough to do a whole lot. But but if we leave it be a air battle, and let's see, +1 for the Axis down here, having these guys fly as fighters, then +1 -1, make it a -2. Okay. Interesting. So the fighter's aborted. The nav bomber is aborted. And then there's no air-to-air combat. So do we roll again? Both find each other again. Let me just do the rest of this stuff off camera, guys. Okay, after several rounds of naval combat, the Italians hold the sea, but they do so incredibly precariously. Several ships were aborted out. We had a Spanish ship sink, an Italian ship sank, a Commonwealth ship damaged, an Italian ship damaged, and again, a lot of aborts. And the Italians have won the day, but they did take some scrapes, which the Commonwealth can probably deal better with anyhow. I mean, the fleet's still operating out of Gibraltar over here, and it's been managing to do very well, just continuing to keep guys bottled up and basically continuing to be a threat to the Italians. Their naval bombers had been aborted out, so basically, again, that air advantage is still strong for the Commonwealth. Those aircraft carriers, which we've not sunk, not like not the way we'd like to. So things will continue to develop there. But yeah. Okay, Axis impulse complete. So we got some movement over here. Tangiers is definitely taken, so Spanish Morocco was done. We also managed to take Barcelona, though it did cost us a unit. So shore bombardment came in handy. We used a lot of shore bombardment that helped us kind of get over the top. And Spain is going to be conquered, so that's guaranteed now. There's really no way for the Allies to take it back. At best, it's about trying to save the remnants, I guess, is maybe one way to look at it. But yeah, they're kaput, basically. So otherwise, the Axis is sort of shuffling around. I'm sort of preparing for Yugoslavia now that Spain is pretty much done with. We can focus over there more in terms of activities. But I guess the real trick now is, I need to get the HQ pulled around and down, and we need to try to get as close to Gibraltar as possible because we don't want to waste any more time. We want to get down here. We are going to have to contend with the Indian Mech Corps in Morocco, but the Italian reinforcements are slowly making their way over, so we'll see what we want to do about that. The consideration the Allies have to keep in mind now is, do they, this fleet will flip face up at the end of the turn, which they'll survive until then, presumably, but the real problem is going to be, do they stay in Gibraltar or not, and do they even try to fight in the Western Med, because they could get trapped there and really not have anywhere to go, where they would be in supply, and then they would never really be able to move or be useful again, basically, or they would definitely have some issues. And so, once you're at a port with no supply, I think you have some pretty nasty penalties and can't do as much, and we need these ships defending the home island. So there's going to be a point where this Gibraltar fleet might have to simply give up the ghost and keep itself safe to defend Britain itself. That's maybe what we have to have happen. But yeah, we'll get into the Allied impulse now. We'll roll for weather. At this point, we've had very good weather. I rolled another 8. That's like 3 or 4 times in a row I got an 8. So the Allies will have clear weather. It is their go. We'll see what happens. Okay, just speaking real quickly, the Allies went. They didn't do much other than sending some ships around, getting transports ready for future transport activities. but there wasn't a whole lot they could actually do other than try to hold back the Germans in Spain, which they can't do much of. I went to the Axis, and I went ahead and declared war on Yugoslavia. I drew a U.S. entry chit. I rolled the die, and it actually came up just enough for the U.S. to get an entry chit, which was good for the Allies. Very quickly, using Rommel as our HQ, primary HQ, we also had Antonescu over here. We eliminated a unit in the mountains of Yugoslavia. We took Zagreb. We managed to not lose anything other than flipping some air power. And now we're heading towards Belgrade, and that's really where the next couple of impulses are going to be focused on. So already have gotten off to a pretty good start there. We have enough forces that we should be able to take this in the next Axis impulse, very likely. The Italians in Africa are getting closer to helping knock out the Italians there and be positioned to pincer onto Gibraltar. So you can see we're getting there. It's taken a little while. We're really late to the game. We haven't even tried to invade the UK yet, but we've just needed. I'm kind of positioning myself for a close the Med instead of a sea lion now, because I just don't know that I can get up there yet. We really need the Italian fleet to operate. So yeah, we'll go back to the Allies, because I think that's all the Italians really want to do. What everybody wants to do. I think the only other thing they could do is a rebase, which, I mean, sure, let's, well, I don't know. Do a rebase, good enough. Okay, rolling for weather, and it is still pretty good. Yeah, great weather. Okay, well, the Allies really didn't do much, and they passed to try to end the turn. They failed. They went to the Axis. Axis is continuing their drives towards Gibraltar, and in fact, they've cleared out some Spanish units easily and are just working their way down south. We'll probably need to rebase some guys down there, but at least for the moment, we're doing okay. The advantage is going their way so far, at least. But again, no major attempts at landing into Commonwealth. So what they may try to do is, in the last impulse of this turn, if they can get it, they might try to get into onto the Isles. We'll see. I mean, they're about as far in the west as they're going to be able to go this turn. But I guess we'll see, how else we come about, how far we come about it. Anyway, I do want to point out with Yugoslavia, we are down to the capital, but unfortunately, the attack by the Axis, I did a -1, so we knocked out one Yugoslavian unit, but everybody's flipped, including the HQ, which we needed to have a decent chance. So Yugoslavia is going to last until the next turn, but one more attack will very likely knock them out. So kind of on the tail end of everything there, won't be a big deal. But yeah, so that's all good there. So yeah, we'll have to see. It's going to go back to the Allies. I think the Allies at this point are just ready for the turn to end. There's nothing more that they can do to change the game state. So they're all going to pass, and we'll see if the turn ends. And the turn does end. So they do lose the initiative bonus because they started the turn and they ended the turn. And so the die rolls for initiative will now be tied. But that is it for the impulses. So I'll go ahead and do all the end of turn stuff off camera. So partisans, blah, blah, blah. U.S. entry will be good for the U.S., and I think that means that the Soviets will invade the Baltics next turn because they need to start stuffing the border even more to try to get that garrison value going. So they're going to try to do that in the coming turn. So yeah, we'll come back when production is all done. Okay, for the U.S. entry option, they have 28 U.S. entry, which means they can do a lot. But I think what's going to be really valuable right now is that the U.S. gears up, and they can only do that if they have 11 tension.
against the Axis, and my understanding is that we still double what's in the tension pool up there, and I believe we have way more than 11 at this point. It's 9 double to 18. So I believe I'm allowed to do this, so the U.S. will gear up production. This is a 90% chance of adding something to the tension pool. It will. So we'll go ahead and do that. Yep, something gets added to the tension pool. We could have picked something higher, but I found that this one's just really important because we're going to need that production. So yeah, U.S. Production goes up by, or multiplier increases by 0.25, so they're going to be up to like 50 now, which is going to be really important. I just wanted to call that out. It was important for U.S. entry, and that's the option we picked. Okay, here comes the production phase. So just talking very quickly to what we got. Commonwealth's doing motorized infantry, a fighter, an armor, which would be useful in defending the home country. They are finishing the Formidable, and they will be looking to finish the Resolution. So I think one of these might have actually been a repair job, which I should mark correctly. The U.S. is, because they geared up, they can now work on amps, so they're going to go work on some amps to finish those guys, and an infantry. The Russians are going to build 2 fighters and 2 motorized infantry. The Italians are building infantry, naval bomber, and they're repairing the Duca d'Aosta. I'm sure I butchered that, but yeah. And then Germany, who has just a huge amount of production, insane, are building a whole bunch of subs. And then they're building 4 mech units. One of them happened to be a Finnish unit that I drew out of the force pool. And then their last regular infantry in their force pool for the moment. This is just another mech that was in the pile. So lots of mechanized units. It was basically like, okay, we got a lot of production. What do we build? And to me, it made just a bunch of sense. Like, hey, let's get these mechs off the ground and get them out there. So good stuff. I'll put them across the production spiral as needed here. And just as we get into the peace phase, the Spanish are conquered. There's really not much to say here. So the last Spanish unit gets removed. And really that's it. Capital's now Spanish Sahara, I think, is probably the place to go. But Spain has been conquered by Germany. That's it. That's the reality. That's what we got going. And now it's simply a task to get into Gibraltar. And right now the Commonwealth is having to hold back infantry units to have a planned defense of the UK. So really it's going to be, what does the Commonwealth do? Do they hold on to Gibraltar tooth and nail? Well, they probably need to, just given the overall situation. But that is going to be it for the conquest phase. So Spain is conquered indeed. And let's see. I'm not sure that that's a separate U.S. entry. It looks like it isn't. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That is it for May-June 1941. Hopefully this is a faster video. And maybe a lot more commentary than the die rolling stuff, but things are going fairly well for the Axis. It's still the Axis side of the war. Things will start to get a little more dicey as we get into late 41, into 42, 43, and that'll be the year of decision, I guess, to really figure out what's left to do, and if the Allies are going to come back. Hopefully I haven't missed any, too many rules issues. I did realize that in a previous turn, I could have used a naval move to move all of my subs. I screwed that up. It slipped my mind. It's one of those odd rules that I forgot about, but not a huge deal. It'll be fine. So yeah, there we go. We'll look at July, August 1941 in the next video. See you there.